Welcome everybody to TechCraft, this is Rob, and today's video is a follow-up to my video from last week about the Raspberry Pi 4. In this video, I'll be answering all the great questions that were sent in through the comments, so let's go. First of all, let me just say a big thank you to everybody who sent in some feedback or some comments, both positive and negative. It's a huge help to me in improving the channel, improving the content, so I do appreciate you all taking the time. To make sure that everyone gets the answers they want from this video, I'm going to be putting the timestamps to the different questions in the description below, and I'll pop them up on the screen as I'm speaking. So, do skip ahead to the bits that are most relevant for you, and let's hope that everyone gets their questions answered. If I've forgotten to answer a certain question, chuck a comment below and I'll answer it there at least. I probably won't do another video, but I will answer them in the comments. So let's just start by answering the first question that people seem to ask, and maybe just a quick recap of why I'm using the Raspberry Pi paired with my iPad Pro. If you don't know, the Raspberry Pi is a small single board computer that has pretty much everything you need. It has HDMI, USB, USB-C, audio jacks, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, the works. And I started using it as a way to get around the restriction that the iPad only has one USB-C port. And even if you pair the iPad with a dongle and try to manipulate multiple drives through the Files app, it doesn't really work. The Files app doesn't want to play ball and certainly does not act as reliably to copy files between different drives. So I started using the Pi for that. Since then, my use cases have developed. I now use it as a backup coding machine. So the bulk of my work that I do for coding, I do from the iPad connected to a definitely not portable remote machine at home. And the Pi just acts as a backup in case I can't get connected. Now I'm carrying this full computer with me, there's loads more I can do with it. So I use it for disk sharing when I'm traveling, screen sharing. It kind of acts like a mini Chromecast. Do occasionally plug it into speakers and stream audio through it. More recently, I've actually been using it for video transcoding on the go using the FFmpeg tool. So there's loads you can do with it. I really only have scratched the surface what you can do with such a cool, small, portable computer. So underlying all this though, and I'm in full knowledge of this, the Pi is making up for shortcomings and drawbacks of using the iPad. Now, I prefer to use the iPad as my daily driver machine. For my non-coding work, I think it is the most productive, most comfortable, most enjoyable environment that I have used for a long time. For coding, as I've mentioned, I'm typically connected to a machine back at home, so it doesn't really matter what machine I use to connect to that machine, and I prefer the smallest, lightest machine I can manage. A huge shout out to Fernando Silva, who did a great video about preferring the iPad over the laptop, and I recommend you watch that, and I'll try and link it above or in the description below at least, to give another perspective on somebody who is running the iPad only. So before I move on from this question, I want to address one very specific sub-question that people had, which is, why not use the Microsoft Surface Pro? So obviously any Apple user discussing Microsoft products is a tense time. I don't want to cause anybody offense or anything like that. I think the Surface Pro is a great machine. It looks fantastic, it's very light, the reviews are fantastic, and there seems to be a huge number of people who are very, very happy using it. So then why am I not using it? Why am I carrying an iPad and then occasionally a Raspberry Pi? I think the reason is simple. I'm not a Windows coder. I haven't even been a serious Windows user for over 15 years now. And in that 15 years, I've been a serious Apple user, a serious Linux user, and I've built up all the knowledge, all the paid software, all the experience, all the hard-fought workarounds and understanding of the quirks, that if I was to give up that, I'd have to start again on, nearly start again on Windows. That's a huge investment in time that I'm not necessarily prepared to pay. Now, is the Surface Pro a better hardware setup than what I have? Possibly, I don't know, but I'm certain it's not that much better that I would pay the price to learn all those things over again, all those workarounds, all those quirks, all those workflows and tweaks. It just doesn't make sense for me to start from scratch. Following on from this, a question that plenty of people asked is, why not use a machine in the cloud? Why carry a little computer with you? Two reasons. I like the connectivity. I don't have to have an internet connection to use the Pi, but also I actually just don't think the cloud stacks up in a price perspective. If you were to buy a machine from somewhere like DigitalOcean with 4 gigabytes of RAM, that's about $20 a month, and I only paid less than $100 for my entire setup, and I always have it with me, and I don't have to worry about the internet. So I really don't think the cloud stacks up in this particular instance. So getting into the nitty-gritty of the technical questions now, the first question that a lot of people asked is, can I actually install the Pi from the iPad? And I think the answer to this is no. I've not found a way to burn an SD card from the iPad. So what I did is I went to the Raspberry Pi website, I downloaded the image that I wanted, the operating system image, which was Raspbian in my case, and I burned it from the MacBook, and then I used that SD card in my Raspberry Pi. Just make a note at this point, if you're downloading your OS image from the Raspberry Pi website, you have two choices. Do you want the desktop version or the light version? If you're going to use the graphical user interface, if you want to do screen sharing, or maybe you want to plug your Pi into a monitor at home, then you definitely want the desktop version. If you're going to be command line only, then the light version is probably fine for you, but just make sure you get the right image downloaded. Another note at this point, if you're not comfortable using the command line, it probably makes sense to do the first boot and basic configuration of your Pi at home with a monitor and a keyboard, especially so you can enable something like screen sharing, which I'm going to cover later in the video. So following on from this, a few of you asked, well, what is this SSH thing you keep talking about? And I must apologize for not explaining that in the previous video properly. Simply put, SSH, which stands for Secure Shell, is a protocol that allows you to control one machine from another over the network in a secure fashion. What this means in practice for me is that I'm using the command line of the Pi, but I'm entering the commands into an application running on the iPad. So SSH isn't actually enabled by default on the Pi. The easiest way to enable it is when you first burn your SD card, go into the root folder of that SD card, add an empty file called SSH, and then when you boot it up, it will be running with the SSH server. The default username is Pi, and the default password is Raspberry. If you already have your Pi running and you didn't do this step, don't worry. Later on, I'm going to show how to enable SSH and screen sharing from the GUI. So a question that came up quite frequently was, do I need a specific USB cable, USB-C cable, to connect my iPad and my Pi? And the answer is annoyingly yes. The Raspberry Pi has an error in its USB-C implementation, which means it doesn't support all cables. There is a great list of known working cables at Tom's Hardware, which I'll link in the description below, and I'm popping up on the screen right now. The easy way to check if your cable works is just to plug the cable into the wall socket and plug that into the Pi. If it turns on, the cable should be fine. If you don't even get power that way, it definitely won't work. Once you've got an installed Pi and a working cable, you need to now figure out how to connect it to the iPad. And a question that people asked is, do you need to jailbreak your iPad? Absolutely not, no. All the configuration actually happens on the Pi. All you need to do is follow the instructions that Ben Hardell created, and I'm going to link them again in the description below. Let me just say at this point, though, there is a minor omission in those instructions, and I'm going to correct them in the description. So make sure you check that out, and then you'll be able to make sure everything's running smoothly. So what I think was the most popular question is, does this setup require the iPad Pro with the USB-C socket, or will this work on a Lightning-based iPad? I don't really know the answer. I certainly have not been able to make any of my Lightning-based iPads work with the Pi, no matter what I tried. So I tried the Apple USB-C to Lightning cable, that didn't work, and I tried this with the 12.9-inch Gen 2 iPad Pro, it didn't work. I then tried the Apple USB 3 camera connection kit, that didn't work. I had a bunch of connectors for turning USB cables into USB-C cables, so I tried the standard USB Lightning cable and an adapter dongle. That didn't work either. I basically couldn't get anything to work in this area. I don't think this is the end for using the Pi alongside an older iPad. I just think it won't be based over the cable. What I think we'll have to do is come up with some way of using Wi-Fi and Bluetooth together to make this work smoothly. And if I come up with a solution, I will definitely post an update for that. Following on from that question, a lot of people ask, can you get this to work with an Android tablet? And I don't really know the answer to that either. I tried it with my Galaxy Tab S4 and it definitely didn't work. The Pi would be powered for about 2 or 3 seconds, but then it would power cycle and crash and start again, and the whole thing would just keep repeating. So I kind of feel like it should work, but you probably need a very high power output from your Android tablet, and it's just not my area of expertise to be able to comment on whether that is possible or which models will do that. So keeping on with questions surrounding power, a few people asked, how do you shut down the Pi? And the answer is I use the command line to do that. There's a shutdown command for that, but I've actually wrapped that up in an iOS shortcut, so I can just tap a button on the iPad and it will shut the Pi down. And I'll share all of my shortcuts that I'm using in the description below. So a really interesting question came up about whether or not you can actually get enough power from the iPad into the Pi to make it work properly. Now, I think the answer to this is strictly speaking no, but I think in practice the answer is yes. So as per the specs, you need 5 volts, 3 amps for the Pi, and the iPad Pro USB-C socket will only output 7.5 watts. So at 5 volts, that's like 1.5 amps. Now, I plugged the Pi into a wall socket with my USB power meter in the way, and it really only takes about half an amp at most for all the work I was doing, and the same amount of power was consumed when plugged into the iPad. Now, if you were doing a ton of heavy work, like when I plugged a few drives in, it went up to like 1 amp. It never got close to 1.5 amps. It certainly never got close to 3 amps, even when plugged into the wall socket. So I think in practice it will work. Now, if you're gonna do long periods of heavy work, it probably makes sense to power the Pi from a battery or a wall socket. And for that, I've been using this Anker 18-watt USB-C battery, which works perfectly well. Now, when you are powering the Pi separately, you will lose that USB-C Ethernet connection to the iPad. So you'll need to have separate connectivity, either Wi-Fi or something like that. And I'm going to get to that very shortly. So obviously, when you're powering the Pi from the iPad, a really interesting question is how much does that impact the battery life of the iPad? And again, this is going to be really dependent on like what your workload is. But idle, it's almost nothing. So I left the Pi and the pad just idling for 10 minutes and just checked how much battery was using. It was 1%. But I also had my USB power meter plugged in, and about 100 milliamps were used. And that's about right. I think the iPad has a 10,000 milliamp hour battery, so that's roughly 1%. So it's really not a lot. For long periods of work though, you'll probably want to attach to a battery or a wall socket as discussed previously. So a few of you warned me about the potential for overheating with the Pi. I've never seen this, but I definitely runs hot in that case I had. So I bought a new aluminium case and a heatsink, so I've got a passive cooling solution now that I hope will be fine. But I also bought this active cooling fan case, which I'll go to if I can't get the Pi to run cool enough. Don't really want to be carrying this one around in my bag, but if I have to, I will. So quite a few of you were curious about how the Pi itself gets network connectivity. Does it get the network connectivity over the USB-C cable? The answer to that is no. You really have two choices. If your iPad has a 4G connection, then you can tether the Pi to the iPad and share the 4G, which works great. If your iPad is connected to Wi-Fi, then you can connect your Pi to Wi-Fi too. The same Wi-Fi works just fine. Configuring Wi-Fi on the Pi can be a bit of a pain if you don't have screen sharing, so if you're only using the command line. I have built some iOS shortcuts that automate the process, and I'll link them below. These definitely need some more testing. I'm still kind of developing them on the fly, so if you have any issues with them, just chuck a comment and I'll get back to you. So a really interesting question was, can I use the iPad as the monitor for the Pi? And I think strictly speaking, if I'm answering this question in the strictest sense, I think the answer is no. There's no way that I can tell at least, to deliver HDMI from the Pi into the pad, but you can absolutely set up screen sharing. And that was one of the most popular questions, is how do I set up screen sharing? I don't want to use the command line. How do I share the screen from the Pi to the pad? Thankfully, this is really simple. The Raspberry Pi comes installed with a service called VNC. You have to enable it, and to do this on the command line is really quite simple. You just simply run this Raspberry Pi config utility, and then you go into interfacing options, and from there just make sure that VNC is enabled. If you're doing this from the GUI, then all you need to do is hit the Raspberry icon in the top left, choose preferences, and then choose Raspberry Pi configuration, and then in here you have interfacing options, and just make sure that VNC is enabled. Now, without any further configuration, you can use the VNC Viewer app from the App Store, which is completely free, and this does work pretty well. However, I use an app called Screens, which I think is quite a bit better. This does require a bit more configuration on the Pi to get it to work, and I'll link to the official guide for that in the description below. So I think that answers all the questions that I saw from the comments in the previous video. If I missed your question, I apologize. It's really hard to keep track of all the comments that are flying in, so do ask it again for this video and I'll try and answer it. I hope that you found this video useful, and I hope that you found it entertaining. If so, please hit like, please hit subscribe, and don't just hit subscribe, but hit the bell as well so you don't miss out on any future content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.